I did wrong. And we can laugh about it. And I'm glad we can laugh about it now, because a couple of years ago that wouldn't have been true. So recently the girls reminded me of a Christmas dinner that was just about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was just at that time of the meal when everything has to happen. If you guys cook big meals, you know what I'm talking about. The potatoes, the roast, the gravy. It is a beautiful thing to behold when that holds together perfectly. It feels like magic, and the dinner comes to your table, and it just comes to the table at just the right time. Well, this wasn't one of those times. But the kicker is that earlier, I had sent the girls to the store. This is Christmas Eve day. I had sent the girls to the store for M&Ms to be part of the table decorations for this Christmas meal. I had forgotten to buy them. So I asked them to go. I sent them to the store. And do you know what they did? They bought the regular color M&Ms. It's Christmas. What were they thinking? They were for the table decorations. They didn't buy the red and green ones. Why weren't they reading my mind anyway? And so when they got back, the meal was just at that time where it starts to get stressful, and it wasn't going beautifully already. And then I let them have it about not getting the right M&Ms. And then, of course, there I was alone in the kitchen. How did that happen? Get out of there, she's on a crazy rant, you know, I'm alone in the kitchen. And I remembered that just that morning in my journal I had written, what I want to work on is loving relationships with my children. And now this. All I could see in my head was wanting the table to look perfect and the food to be over the top. I wanted my kids to have those memories of a great holiday meal in their mind's eye for years. I mean, that was my goal, that they would have this memory of this meal. Well, they do. But getting stuck in the production of the meal, my mind caught up in all the details. It took me off course of the one thing I care more about than a perfect Christmas meal. My relationship with my kids. And here I was bawling in the kitchen because I saw that my memory, the memory I so wanted, sure wasn't going to be created with them, with me chewing them out over getting ordinary M&Ms. So lest you think this is only a woman's foible, a girl thing about napkins and meals. It's also family vacation time, isn't it, everybody? And with it comes memories of trips gone oh so wrong. One friend of mine talked about looking forward to family trips, but always being on the lookout for that moment when his dad would blow a gasket. It was about how the trunk got packed or how the boat got offloaded into the lake. But he said there was always a moment in the trip where his dad would announce to the family, "The trip is ruined." I just love that. And my friend and his brother would sit in the back seat of the family station wagon, mimicking their dad and saying really bad words and making bad gestures toward him that their dad couldn't see or hear. And you just know there too. Their dad wanted a great family time, something for the memories, the scrapbooks, wanted to have fun. But it was hard to keep his focus on the biggest picture of all, right? The biggest picture of all is they're together. That family is no longer together. Dad's dead, you know, so they'll never have that moment. But at that moment, he couldn't keep his mind on the fact, here we are, we're together. Instead, he kept his eye on the lookout for the rain, the closed restaurant, the wrong turn that would lead him to announce and believe the trip is ruined. What we all want from these experiences is to love and to be loved. And yet what we get caught up in thinking about is thinking that the point is that things are perfect. And when they aren't perfect, I take it out on the ones that we love and that ones we want to be loved by. Both of these are illustrations of just not being present, of not really seeing what it is that's the biggest possible desire for our lives. And when we're not present to the largest goals or the largest loves of our life, we miss what is truly in the moment, what is truly life, what's real life for us. M&Ms are not real life. The napkins on a table aren't real life, but we can get so bent over those things that we miss out what real life is. So it's not surprising to me that in our reading today about these sisters, Mary and Martha, that at least one of them would have a hard time keeping her eye on the biggest picture, on being present to what was going on in that moment. Now, I'm going to stand with Martha because she does have tradition and duty on her side. Every woman in this room knows that. Women now and then are expected to pull off the great entertaining moments. Men can do it, but women are expected to do it. She, though, becomes truly distracted by 1,000 things. She makes sure the napkins match, the food is cooked to perfection. She probably threw in some awesome table decorations like Echo's. She would probably have that great bouquet of flowers in the room or on the table. I don't know whether they included awesome M&M-filled candlesticks as mine did, but here she was. She was missing being present there because she was so distracted by many things, 10,000 things. Martha wants to love and be loved by Jesus. We all do. And so she offers what she knows. But along with that, she's worried and distracted with many things, and she misses, though, the thing that her heart longs for. What we all really long for ultimately, to be in the presence of God. Her mind takes her so many places, but to the one place she can get what her soul longs for. And even us, we can come here, spend this hour, and in the midst of our worship be so distracted by 1,000 things, like what's going to happen afterwards, and did I set the table right for the snacks after worship, whether a sound happened, someone shot something up into the sanctuary during worship. We get distracted so that even when we're here at worship a lot of times, we are missing the one thing our soul longs for, which is to be united and present with God. So with Martha, Jesus pulls her into presence. I do like this, because I don't think he does it in a humiliating way. But he points out to her that she's worried and distracted by the 1,000 details, but missing the most important part of living, which is being present today in our lives. So what is presence? Because it isn't that we make our list of what needs to be done on a given day, and sitting at the feet of Jesus is one item on that list. It is being conscious of our connection with God and with the moment at all times. So you can see it's impossible, right? But it is what we strive for, we long for, to be in the moment and aware of God at all times. Jesus didn't say to Mary, okay, here, just sit here for a moment and pick up a few tips from me, Martha, and then you can go back to your cooking, your worries, your distractions. Take some notes from my speech now, Mary, and then you go join your sister and help her in the kitchen. That's not what Jesus is calling us to. The awareness of the holy in our lives isn't adding God to a list of to-do items. It's to see that everything in our lives is already in this larger context of God's life. That we're already in the moment, in this with God already. It's being present that we're craving, because we're swimming each moment in the presence of God like a fish swims in the ocean. But if we're not present to that presence of God, we're like fish swimming in an ocean, and that fish is swimming around wishing it were in the ocean. It's there, but it doesn't recognize where it is and in what larger entity it's in. So basically, Jesus is asking Martha and you and me to see things differently. Richard Rohr, in his book The Naked Now, says, people who are fully present, there's not a whole bunch of them, okay? They know how to see fully, rightly, and truthfully. Presence is the one thing necessary, and in many ways it's the hardest thing of all. Presence is the practical daily task of all mature religion and all spiritual discipline. So much of religion, he continues, involves teaching people this and that, an accumulation of facts and rules and charges that is supposed to somehow add up to salvation. But the great spiritual teachers know this, that only one thing is needed, and that is how we do the moment. Are you here? Did you show up for the moment that you're in right now? Or is your mind distracted with 10,000 things? Are we here? Are we present? Like me fretting over my Christmas meal, worried and distracted from what matters most. My kids were there for me, but I wasn't there. With God, that presence will always be here with us. We are swimming in an ocean of God's love and mercy and grace. We're in it every moment. We don't have to do something to get to it. We're here. God's here. We're in God. But will we be present to that reality? Now, it doesn't exactly help to go home and start making lists of how you make God number one in your life. As on a list, like number one, God. Check, did that. Read a few verses in my Bible, did my devotions, got that done. Check. Got God done and out of the way for the day. I hear people say that a lot. My God, I get it done in the morning, then I'm done. Okay? But seeking God's kingdom is not so much about what comes first, but rather seeing it is everything. It's the whole of our life. It's the ocean. And we're in it. Instead, our full day practice is to do the best we can, to not be thinking about the future. Oh, I gotta get this done, I gotta do that. And not be dwelling on the past. Oh my God, that happened to me in the past, I can't do anything. Oh, it's terrible. And not letting any of those past and future things run our lives. But instead, be present. To be present is to put those things aside and really show up for this one moment that we actually are living. We pull ourselves back to the moment. We pull ourselves back to presence in the moment. And we can feel like our minds are moving as quickly as the squirrels that start getting really busy around this time of year, storing up for the future, right? But instead, presence is seeing that God is all in all, in every time and place. And throughout the day, the good news is we are in God's presence. In every person, in our words, in our politics, in each relationship, whether our relationships are loving us or hurting us, we recognize in the midst of all that we're not separate. we are present to that or not. Amen.